Right, I'm going to explain this in 1 minute. It says, which is likely to shift the short-run aggregate supply curve to the left. Now, you know the short-run aggregate supply curve is this one. So when you've got this diagram, you've got the AD line like this. Remember, it's going to be, oh God, I was going to say AD. Then you've got the SRAS, short-run AS, and it's then going to the left, so it's going this way. Now, for me, I draw this diagram. It reminds me of what the hell I'm doing. So this going this way means you know there is less supply in the economy. What things would cause firms to have less supply in the economy? You know, anything to do with short run is to do with the firm's cost of production. So you've just got to look for something that would increase the firm's cost of production. So let's go through it. If money wages went, and it's a rise in them, if money wages went up, that would be an increase in their cost of production. So that's the right answer. That's stupid, that's to do with demand. The exchange rate would affect demand, and labour productivity, if they rose, it would make it go the other way. So the answer's A. Right, easy one. Get rid of the short one. I don't know why they've even said it. They just put it there to scare you. A fall in the budget deficit. Now, a budget deficit is when the government are in debt. And if there's a fall in the budget deficit, they're not going to be in it as much debt. So that means they must be spending less. So the government must spend less. What things are going to happen if the government spend less? Quite simply, if they're spending less, AD will probably be going down, so there'll be more unemployment. All the other ones don't make any sense. So, I've got 30 seconds to explain this. Inflation, AD would be going down, so there wouldn't be any inflation. If the government were in debt, and then they reduce their debt, why would it have anything to do with interest rates? It's completely pointless. And imports are just there because they're trying to check whether you know what a budget deficit is, and you don't think it's a trade balance deficit. Right, I'll accept this is quite a long and quite hard question, but you just got to go through each bit of time and try and work out what the hell it's saying. So it says, the government increases its budget deficit. Now, if they're increasing their budget deficit, they must be in more debt, which means they must be spending. So you're saying the government is spending, which I would say that means AD is going up. Now, I'd be writing this stuff underneath. And at the same time, the exchange rate in the pound falls. And we know that is WIDEC. Imports dear, exports cheap. Now, if that's happening, then again, that's going to make, with exports being cheap, that's going to make AD go up. So we've got two factors that make AD go up. So basically, it's going to be any points that make, which would happen if AD went up. So would the rate of GDP growth rise? Yep. And would there be a fall in unemployment? Yeah. So it's definitely A. But let's go through the other ones. It says, will there be a rise in the foreign currency price of the UK exports? It says exports are cheap, so that's definitely wrong. There's already one bit wrong. Don't need to read the second part. The price in pounds of UK imports are rising. Well, that's true. So you can say, tick that. And a rise in unemployment. That's not true because AD is going up, so unemployment will be going down. And then finally, labour productivity, irrelevant because that's the supply side thing. And a fall, this one would be right. So the second part, that's right. The first part is just talking about something to do with supply. So it's just, honestly, like, again, this is a really easy question once you actually think about it. Right, I'll accept this is a hard question, I will. Lots of you might have put A. And out of the four, A is your second choice. And I can kind of see why you said it. But I'm going to quickly say why it's wrong. Right, A is wrong because what you can see is unemployment's gone down, so that must mean more people are employed. But it doesn't mean that, because people can either be unemployed, they can be employed, or they can be neither of the above. Because sometimes, if you are not willing and able to work, then you're nothing. You're not unemployed or employed. You're not participating in the economy at all. So actually, when unemployment's gone down, it could be just because lots of people aren't willing and able to work anymore. It doesn't mean that everyone's more employed. So that's not the right answer. Now, I can see why you'd put it. Just think to yourself, whenever unemployment goes down, that doesn't guarantee that more people will be employed. Right? The B is just wrong, right? Because if there's an inflation rate of 4%, that means prices are going up. Then prices go up by 4.5%. Then they go up by 4.2%. That means they're rising all the way through. Now, just because the inflation rate has gone down from 4.5% to 4.2%, all it means is it's risen at a lower rate, but it's still rising. Right, C, there was an inverse relationship between inflation and unemployment throughout the period. I can see why you might say this. You might say, when unemployment went down, inflation seemed to be going up, but it doesn't work because, as you can see in 2011, unemployment went down, but at the same time, the rate of inflation also went down. So it's not inverse. Inverse means when one's going down, the other one's going up. So it doesn't follow the whole way through. So it's not that. And then here it says D, the value of money fell throughout the period. That is true because in the first year, the value of money fell by 4%. Then in the second year, it fell by 4.5%. Then in the third year, it fell by another 4.2%. So that's the right answer. Right, to be fair to you, I can see why you'd have put C. I think a lot of you have put C here, saying fiscal policy is used only to affect the demand side of the economy. But we know, with fiscal policy, it might affect the demand side of the economy first, but then later it will affect the supply side. Because, if demand goes up, for example, what's that? If demand goes up, there might be a accelerator effect, which could actually therefore affect supply. So it's not right. It affects the demand side first, but it can then later affect the supply side. Right. Its second question point, part D says the government uses fiscal policy to control the exchange rate. That's stupid because that's monetary policy. B, the Bank of England is responsible for fiscal policy. That's stupid because the Bank of England is responsible for monetary policy. And then this A is right because, yes, it can affect AD, the level of economic activity, but it also can affect the pattern of economic activity. What this means is fiscal policy can affect what we buy and what we buy. For example, with fiscal policy, you can put high taxes on, and this is kind of Mr. Thompson's side, but you can put high taxes on, I'm going to put fags because I can't smell cigarettes. Fags. If you put taxes on fags, that means people won't buy them anymore. So it can affect the pattern of what people buy. It's just one of those things you've got to know.